Glance at a global atlas, and you will see Scotland appears diminutive, a fractured shard tethered to the crown of Europe, pummeled by the Atlantic fury and sculpted by ancient ice. We believe we understand this land. We know the fortresses of monarchs. We know the blood-soaked soil of clans. We know the urban pulse of Edinburgh and Glasgow. But that is merely the dust jacket of the story. To feel the nation's authentic heartbeat, you must abandon the highway. You must journey to the fringes, to the wilds where the pavement simply surrenders. It resides in the hamlets, some forged to reap the ocean's bounty, others raised to satisfy the vanity of dukes. And some were crafted by souls who simply sought to weather the gale. I am your navigator, and today we embark on an odyssey through time. From the storied kingdom of Fife to the untamed Atlantic rim, we are visiting 7 singular enclaves that have defied the erosion of centuries. Welcome to the definitive anthology of Scotland's most exquisite villages. Seek wonder, shed worry, let us depart. They claim traversing time is impossible. But those skeptics have clearly never set foot in Fife. Mere moments from Edinburgh, resting silently on the banks of the River Forth, lies the royal borough of Culross. Treading these cobbles is not merely a simulation of the past. It is an immersion. Culross is hailed as the supreme embodiment of a 17th century borough remaining in Scotland. And if these stones spark recognition, there is a cinematic cause. This is the breathing Cranus mirror from the hit song Outlander. Producers required no artificial backdrop. They simply arrived, masked a few modern gutters, and rolled camera. The preservation is that flawless. Yet, the true chronicle of Culross eclipses fiction. It converges on this edifice. Culross Palace, raised not by royalty, but by a visionary merchant named Sir George Bruce. In the late 1500s, Bruce was the titan of industry of his era. He transformed this dormant, monastic retreat into a powerhouse of manufacture. He achieved it by extracting black gold, coal, Bruce was an engineering virtuoso. He drove a mine shaft beneath the riverbed, a technological miracle dubbed the moat pit. Vessels would anchor amid the current to load fuel directly from the abyss. He harnessed waste heat from his fires to boil the first brine, crystallizing salt a commodity precious as luxury itself. The fortune from coal and salt erected these magnificent facades. But in 1625, a tempest annihilated the moat pit. The economy imploded, yet that catastrophe is precisely why Culross endures. When the prosperity vanished, none could afford to demolish history, to erect Victorian novelties. The village was crystallized in time. It slumbered for 3 centuries, until the National Trust intervened to resurrect it. Today, it stands as a cenotaph to a lost epoch, a place where the 16th century remains vivid. But our next coordinate forsakes palatial comfort for a realm where existence balances on a precipice. Venture north beyond the granite city of Aberdeen, and the terrain shifts. The undulating hills vanish, yielding to sheer cliffs that plunge violently into the North Sea. And concealed beneath these crags lies Pennon, Pennon defies reality. It comprises a solitary line of whitewashed dwellings, a harbor, and a breakwater. That is all. The infinite ocean on one flank, and a vertical fortress of stone on the other. Existence here is a perpetual truce with the elements. In winter, breakers can vault over these very rooftops. But despite this brutal embrace, this tiny outpost commands global fame. Its renown stems from this humble red booth. In 1983, the cinema classic Local Hero was lensed here. In the film, the protagonist utilizes this line to dial Houston, Texas, bridging this isolated Scottish speck with the cosmos. The movie bottled the alchemy of a place where time stalls. And 4 decades on, that aura endures. There is no cellular signal here. If you wish to speak to the world, you may actually require that booth. Today, Pennon is hushed. The fishing fleet has vanished. But the village's spirit persists. It is a sanctuary of solitude, a place to watch the aurora borealis dance over the water, aware that your only shield against the North Sea is a stone wall and a prayer. Just miles west lies a settlement that makes Pennon appear vast. This is Crowvey, holding a singular distinction in Britain. It is Europe's best preserved fishing hamlet, where the automobile is entirely exiled. You physically cannot motor here. The fissure between cottage and cliff is so slender, it is scarcely a footpath. Residents must abandon vehicles at the summit and ferry provisions down by wheelbarrow. Scrutinize the architecture. These structures were not designed for aesthetics. They were engineered for survival. Oriented sideways to the gale, presenting narrow gables to the surge, to shear the power of the storm. And the tempests inevitably arrive. The defining trauma for this coast was the Great Storm of 1953. It ravaged this littoral frontier. In Crowvey, the ocean breached doors and windows. The violence was so absolute, many families fled, never to return. Those refugees often migrated mere yards to Gardenstown, locally known as Gamley. Founded in 1720, it adheres to the precipice like a stone ladder. Where Crowvey feels precarious, Gardenstown feels like a citadel. It boasts a working port, a tavern, and a school. A testament that while the ocean devours, it also provides. Standing here, gazing down at these dollhouse dwellings, you realize a truth. These are not mere vacation retreats. They are monuments to resilience. Lives were forged, dynasties raised, and ended here inches from the freezing Atlantic. If the East Coast is a war against the elements, the West Coast is a capitulation to beauty. And nowhere is that surrender more absolute than here, Plockton. They christened it the Jewel of the Highlands. And unlike the ancient clusters we have witnessed, Plockton was a designed masterpiece, conceived in the early 19th century, not by a monarch, but by a wealthy estate owner, desperate to stem the tide of immigration to the Americas. But observe closely. There is a flora here that defies this latitude. These are cordyline palms. Plockton shares its parallel with Alaska and Moscow. Yet here, the tropics seem to intrude. It is a meteorological miracle born of the North Atlantic Drift, a tepid current acting as a thermal blanket for this specific bay. While the highlands shiver, Plockton blooms. The village arose for the herring trade. But today, the prize is different. Plockton prawns are world-renowned. Order langoustines in a Michelin-starred London venue, and likely, they began their voyage here. Upon this very pier. It is a sanctuary of calm, where the asphalt literally dissolves into the tide. But to locate our next gem, we must forsake the mainland entirely. We are bound for the Isle of Mull. Welcome to Tobermory. If you were a child in Britain at the millennium's turn, you recognize this place as Ballymoley. But long before it was a television backdrop, it was a maritime pivot of the Hebrides. The first impact is the palate. In a nation famed for slate skies and gray granite, Tobermory is a defiant detonation of pigment. Folklore claims the hues guided sailors to their specific hearts from the sea, though in truth, it is likely sheer, brilliant branding. Anchoring the harbor is the Tobermory Distillery. Founded in 1798, yet the town's true treasure is not the whiskey. It lies submerged. In 1588, a galleon of the Spanish Armada, the San Juan de Sicilia, fled the English fleet to cower in this bay. It ignited and detonated, plunging to the harbor floor, mere yards from where we stand. For 4 centuries, the Tobermory gold has seduced hunters. Monarchs and dukes of Argyll have dispatched divers into the gloom. They have recovered cannons and silver. But the bullion remains an enigma. During the Second World War, this tranquil bay morphed into a rigid naval base, ruled by Vice Admiral Gilbert Stevenson, a figure so formidable he was christened the Terror of Tobermory. He forged sailors for the Battle of the Atlantic here, often by verbally dismantling them until perfection was achieved. From Spanish gold to naval discipline, Tobermory has witnessed it all. Today it is the capital of Mull, the threshold to the untamed isles. But our odyssey is not yet concluded. Drive south to a body of water that commands universal fame. Loch Lomond, on its western verge sits a village so pristine. It resembles a cinematic fabrication. This is Luss. If the uniformity strikes you, it is by design. In the 1800s, the local laird, chieftain of Clan Colquhoun, decreed his tenants deserved superior shelter. He razed the primitive black houses and erected these identical, slate-crowned cottages. It is undeniably exquisite. But if you look beyond the floral baskets and confectionaries, you uncover a lineage far more ancient. This marker is a hogback stone, dating to the 11th century, the era of the Viking. Long before tourists or chieftains, this was hallowed ground. Established by Saint Kesog in the Dark Ages, he was a warrior monk, and for an age, not Saint Andrew, was the protector of the Scottish host. From his legacy, Luss takes its name. Legend traces it to the Gaelic for earth, invoking the medicinal flora Kesog cultivated here to mend the broken. Luss is a paradox. On the surface, a chocolate box idol, flawless for a postcard. Yet scratch the soil, and you unearth Vikings, warrior saints, and ancient clans. We have witnessed the coast and the lochs. But for our final chapter, we descend to the borders, to a region that served as the anvil of war for a millennium. Seven villages, 10 distinct realities. We have traversed, from the storm-battered precipices of the north, to the gentle, artistic enclaves of the south. Scotland is often marketed as a monolith, tartan and castles. But as we've seen, the authentic narrative hides in the crevices, in the outposts clinging to the planet's rim. Be it a town fabricated for cinema, a hamlet raised for a monarch, or a community battling the tide. Each possesses a pulse. They are the living memory of this country. So, when you next study the map of Scotland, look beyond the metropolises, seek the constellations in between, for that is where the magic resides. The Society. Test me. Gratitude for watching. If this odyssey stirred you, ensure you subscribe to beautiful remote countryside villages. For our next expedition, we shall meet you on the road.